The Glock.
Did I talk about that dumb gun?
What about it?
I don't know.
Yeah, like everybody's like, you put it on my dining room table, and everybody's like, oh, I want to see Ben's Glock. Is this the match gun? I was like, yeah, that's the match one. Like, pick it up off the table, and it's like, snap. It's like, oh, it's like, to like rack it again. It's like, snap. I'm like, oh, this is your match gun? And Ben's like, yep, that's my match gun. I'm like, oh, here you go, whatever.
All right, welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. We're here to talk about shooting. On deck tonight, we got Mr. Hopkins, Mr. Kim, and Mr. Park. Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
All right. You guys know the deal. Everybody comes here with a topic, except for me. I don't have a topic, so they want me to talk about the dumbass gun. I've already talked about the gun.
Like, don't use the other topic I gave you. Whatever.
All right. Mr. Kim, you're going first.
Yes. So I want to introduce this product. So if you're not looking at the video, this is a powder called Clean Shot. So recently I shot a PCC Nationals, and I didn't know the load data for that. And I asked the champion, Max Leo Grandes, he uses this powder. So I bought a couple boxes of it. And then I actually load handgun ammo with it and went through some tests. So previous powders, I had issues with powder spillage. I run the 1050 very fast, probably drinking whiskey sometimes. So my ammo sometimes go bam, bam, boop, bam, bam, boop, like that. So when I switched to Clean Shot, the powder is very, very small. It's a circular shape, but very tiny. So when I load, most of the powder is on the bottom of it. So it's not really big volume. So it doesn't spill as much. That's the first thing I liked. And the powder, the load data wise, is very similar to Type Group, which is very popular too. The price is pretty reasonable, and it's big in stock. I don't think anybody's really buying it a lot right now. Like even on internet forums, people don't talk about this powder too much. I found only a couple. So if anybody is interested in trying different powder, this is pretty good. Only the downside would be it's a inverse temperature sensitive. So I chronoed around 135 power factor at home, and it ended up 132 in Florida heat.
Oh, that's fun though.
It's not a lot. So as long as you like load 135, I don't think you will have any issues all around the world. So try this. Oh, by the way, very accurate. I mostly used with coated bullets. The smoke was not much at all. It's close to N320 in my feel in terms of smoke and recoil. But I personally think accuracy was better than N320 as well. Yeah.
And it runs well through a Dillon. That's the question everybody would want to know.
Yes. Meters.
Tornado or nothing. Shut up, Joel.
Meters better than any other.
Lock and load.
No, it is
One
not
thing I
right.
like is some of the powders I have to do like a 3 pumps to get consistent powder drop. Like first 3 loads will be a little bit fluctuating with other powders, but this powder, like almost the first and the second one is like right at where I want. I think it's because the material is so small. It meters very well.
Yeah, I never clear the shell plate because that seems like too much work, but
I'm with you, Joel, dude. And the people that can actually feel the difference between the first and the third round, you need to find something better to do.
as long as it's got powder, like I, yeah.
It's extremely judgmental, gentlemen.
Very sorry.
All right, Matt, what do you got?
So I want to talk about short time doing live fire practice. So just this week I've went out and I've shot every single day, but I haven't spent a ton of time out there.
Are you working from home, perhaps, sir?
No, I'm not. Actually, I was in the office. That's why it's been less time.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going back to remote work and gonna change that. So I just I'm like, okay, I only got an hour. I got to get out there and do something. So I set up 3 targets out there. I was like, okay, I could do this drill, and this drill on this. I'm gonna load my mags up, shoot this drill for this one, reload, shoot the next set of drills, reload, do the next set of drills. Bam, done. Out in an hour, 300 and something round shot. Really good practice session. And I'm finding it more and more. It's kind of like compound interest, right? With money, like you have to put time in every day to get effects out of it. So
Wait, what? This is not my understanding of compound interest.
you put a little in and it just adds up over time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I get. I was
Maybe I
like,
explained it
Jesus.
bad the first time.
yeah, no, it does. It adds up over time. Man, I think we've talked about, you and I have talked about how practicing is a skill in and of itself. That people
Absolutely.
need to kind of like
It's
learn
something
how
you
to
have to learn.
practice.
Yep. Absolutely it is.
Yeah, and I notice when I'm out training, like I want it to be efficient. I mean, I get bored and I get upset. It's difficult for me to even practice with other people if it's not the right person, because they're slowing me down, they're in the way, and it's just like, shoot your targets, fill your magazines. Like, I don't need to be chit chatting with you right now. Like, if you're not doing one of those things, like, get the fuck out of my face.
All right, guys, help me
I
out.
don't say it that way, but that's what I'm thinking.
I know you wouldn't. You're too nice, too polite.
You're
talking
polite
about
to say that.
Give me an example of an inefficient practice. So that would be like dragging out too many props or being there for targets, like 4 or 5 hours.
Too many drills, too much talking, too much nonsense. And then also over analyzing, so let's say we're doing a drill like El Presidente. So you're doing El Presidente. So that, to me, that's a kind of a good test of your abilities. You got to draw, a reload, you got the transitions, you got some shooting. So in the context of doing that drill, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be analyzing the minutia of my grip, right? I would use a different drill to do that. So then like those little minutia, that kind of crap, that needs to fall away to the background where I'm not thinking about it or talking about it or analyzing it. And some people have a really hard time doing that. Like every time they do a run, they want to, work through every little detail of
look at every split, maybe
what just happened. It's like, like, dude, that is like, that's not where it's at for this drill. Like if you want to look at every split, then I'm doing a different drill. So kind of being really focused on what it is you're trying to achieve. What is the drill focused on? Because you're usually working on just 1 or 2 elements, maybe three cues, that you'd be focused on. So you want to focus like a laser on particular things to the exclusion of other stuff. To where it's like, yep, I understand that this and that, these other elements I'm not working on right now, those are going to kind of fall apart, and that's okay. Like I'm focused on this other thing right now. I'm trying to actually make progress during this session. So being very focused is difficult for a lot of people.
I like it.
Yeah.
Also, so Matt, it sounds like you're dragging out less stuff. So just a couple target stands and that's it?
Actually, our club has like wood backer boards. Some days I can just throw targets up there and I like put 2 little cone things on the ground, staple the targets up, done.
So back in the old days when I was like had jobs to work, I remember, this was 10 years ago, training for nationals, I would have like 45 minutes on the range between jobs to do a practice session. And I would always go out there with a specific plan. I'm going to work on exactly these things. This is what the drills are going to be. I would have a plan for how much pasting I was going to do. So if I'm working up close, I'd be pasting less than if I'm shooting from back, like all that stuff. And that's the only way that I could train efficiently, because I'd need to shoot, 300-400 rounds probably in that time. And I didn't want to be just shooting the rounds. I wanted to be doing the assessment and, trying to do it properly. And that was very challenging, but I learned a lot about practicing efficiently. It's to the point now where if I'm on the range for 2 hours by myself, I've probably practiced all I'm going to for that day. Cause physically I'm smoked, I've shot as much as I feel like shooting. I probably shot a lot.
Yeah. I think the biggest place, sorry.
No, I was just saying practice really, like practicing itself is a skill you get better at over time. And I don't think I appreciated that enough until Matt went practice with me one time, and they said exactly that. He's like, yeah, you're very efficient at practicing. I was like, I thought about it. I'm like, oh, I guess I am.
100% is. I don't think a lot of people ever learn that.
Yeah.
Because they don't put enough time into it to learn it.
And I think the place most people fall down is in the setup. So like there was a time until very recently where there was nothing I could say or do that I was going to get access to the props at my club. So what did I have? The stuff I could fit in the trunk of my car. And that was actually really good, because before I would have maybe thought, I want to drag out these walls or this barrel stack or something. It's like, hey, I fit 3 or 4 target stands in my trunk you know, and a couple like non-falling like steel challenge plates. That's it. That's all I can't bring anything more. Like I can't. I don't have access to anything more than that. And that actually taught me to be very efficient with just what I had. And if I would have had access to drag out all the crap and bring out a wall and, oh, just a couple barrel stacks this time and all that wasted time, it's actually not efficient. Once in a while, it's okay to do. But, you know, that's not what you should do every practice session. Just a few, you know, a few target stands, a few plates, a couple cones, and you can really accomplish a lot with that and be in and out of there very quickly.
So beyond cones, I like to do the like 3-foot target sticks that you know cut off the top of them. Those work perfectly as fault lines.
You cut off the top of them?
No, like if you set up like clubs.
You buy an 8-foot stick.
Yep.
You want a 5-foot stick. Cut off the 3 feet.
Use the 3-foot as a fault line, and I just have like.
Have you been to a hardware store? Oh no, you went to View. We went with me to one, didn't you?
Yeah.
We
went to Menards a lot of times, sir.
Yeah, I did. I bought that sledgehammer. Remember? Bertha. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck some stuff up with this sledgehammer.
I remember that.
I kind of did too.
You were really excited about that sledgehammer.
Dude, I smashed stuff with it just for no reason. It was amazing. Made my day. Made my week, actually.
I remember it well. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing to add, don't be lazy on hydrating and keeping your energy level up when you practice.
Yeah, be like focused, be all there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is it my turn, Joel? Or is it? Yeah. This is kind of a combined topic. I mean, I suppose it's my concept, but we're both working on it. Okay, so I started a YouTube channel with Joel called Practical Shooting Explained. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Who's it for?
It's not for you. So if you're listening to this show, it is not for you. I don't really know why we're talking about it on here. I'm not joking. It's really not for you. So in my view, practical shooters, so that'd be USPSA people, we as a group, we kind of suck at talking to the rest of the gun community. And a lot of the comments, so if you're curious about this channel, go to Practical Shooting Explained on YouTube and you can see that channel. You can see what's on there. But in my estimation, USPSA shooters are kind of in this bubble because people in USPSA, they shoot a lot, they're training a lot, they have different equipment than other people in many respects, and they just have a lot deeper understanding of shooting, but they're very much all about getting other people to do this thing that we're doing. And in being honest, this isn't for everyone. You got to be really, really into this and do it a lot in order to get a lot out of it. Like we're traveling around to matches together and training all the time and doing all this stuff. And if you don't want to get into it that hard, I don't see much of a point to doing it. Like that's just my opinion, but I don't see a lot of point. If you're not going to do it seriously, why do it at all? However, there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of practical shooting, like good knowledge about equipment, technique, shooting skill, all that stuff. Like there's a lot of ideas from practical shooting that we should be exporting to the rest of the gun community, but we're not very good at doing that. So that's the point of that channel. Did I explain that well, Joel?
I think you did. So more than it's not creating a checklist for if I'm going to go to my first match, tell me what I need to do. And Ben's like, well, show up early and make sure you bring your range bag. That's not what it is. It's like, this is what a practical, shooting match is. And just explain what it is. More than like actionable, follow these steps to do this thing. It's just informational.
Well, I'm not trying to dump on anybody, but obviously the people that have looked at the channel now are all practical shooters. So we're getting comments like, hey, make a video explaining the division rules. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because if you don't do USPSA, you don't give a shit what the division rules are. And why would you? Who cares? That's not really relevant to anything that we're doing. And if you really needed to know that, that's easy to find out. If you already do USPSA, you don't need to watch that video. And if I make that video 2 months from now, it's going to be out of date anyway when the division rules change and you can have a 65-ounce production gun or whatever the fuck. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that makes no sense to make that video. And it doesn't really speak to them. But I did make a video, and maybe by the time you hear this, I'll have released it, of just explaining the build drill. Like, this is what this is. I didn't use any USPSA jargon. So not talking about alphas or charlies or about division rules. I just made a video explaining what the build drill is and why we would do that. And there it is. And that it becomes useful information, or maybe at least interesting if you own a gun and you're interested in shooting, but you're not going to be going to matches. You're just not going to do it. Maybe they see that video and they get something out of it. That's what we're trying to do. And I think that we can kind of push practical shooting ideas out to the kind of the larger gun community without kind of evangelizing. Like, we're not trying to get them to come do this thing. That's not the point. It's just showing them what we're doing. So other things that I want to put on there, like I want to have Mr. Kim come on the channel and give us a review of the Walther, and not like a normal sort of gun magazine review of a gun where the writer got the gun for free or at a discount. Like, Matt, you know about that, right? Are you the guy sending those out for CC?
Every single article is basically sponsored.
Yeah, of course. So the writer gets
how
this
they
gun.
work.
Yeah, no, right, that's the system.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I would do the same thing. Like, hey, you like, I send free books out to people that are dumbasses just because they, might want the book, and then they talk to their audience. No, Joel, don't put your not. I'm not saying I only send them to dumbasses, but I might send it to somebody who is a dumbass. Like, here you go. If they talk about it on their channel or on their platform, they've got cool, like whatever. But that's in a sense, that's the same system that gun manufacturers use. So a normal gun review is, yeah, I handled the gun. It was cool or whatever, or the magazine release was here and that was comfortable or that was nice. And then they have somebody take nice photographs of it. And then the reviewer shoots the gun. I shot 550 rounds and it only jammed once, but it had packing grease on it. So that was probably that for that reason. And it grouped like this at 25 yards or whatever. Like, that's a gun review. But having Mr. Kim to actually talk about the nuances of the Walther platform, and I mean, hey, just shoot us straight about how this thing works. And he'd be like, yeah, so you're going to change that extractor spring and then it's going to run good. And like, this is the grip angle, something that people have a lot of discussion about. It's sort of polarizing. And then the gun does this and this, and do an actual in-depth review of what it'd be like to own that gun and shoot it a lot. I think that sort of information should be pushed out to the gun community at large, but they're not paying any attention to USPSA people because, I don't know, we're not good at communicating with them.
Well, it's too tough to understand, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. People
Yeah, I want to talk to you about hit factor. It's like, what is hit factor and why do I care?
Yeah, it's like, it's just like, holy shit, man. That is not helpful to people. So yeah, so obviously Joel is the nice part of that channel. And as soon as you start pushing up videos on it, Joel, I'll be very happy. But that's what it is.
Quite jammed up lately.
Yeah, I know. But if you see Practical Shooting Explained and are wondering what that is, that's what it is, and that's what it's for. It's not really for you, but if you see a video on there, it might be for some of your gun hunting friends. Particular videos that come out later. So that's what I'm working on. That's just kind of a fun side project sort of thing, like as if I don't have enough shit to do already, but whatever.
Self-inflicted, sir.
Yeah, self-inflicted. Can't help myself. All right, that's it for me.
Perfect. Okay, my turn. I want to talk about leveraging your skills in a stage. So I think a lot of people, they pick stage plans, but maybe they just look at, maybe they just think about the fastest way to shoot it, and they kind of don't use their gut, or maybe you should be picking a plan based on your skills and weakness over just an optimal plan. So I think of an example of a match like we shot, guys, where there's you're starting on a stage and you can shoot. It'd be stage 6. There's a target where you can shoot from more than one position. I know. A target you can shoot from more than one position. You can draw to this open target. I can draw to a mini. I've got a couple steel targets. I've got some paper targets. I'm like, what's my order? And maybe like I personally chose my plan based on I didn't want to draw to the full target and then have to transition to the mini. I wanted to instead focus like a laser on the mini, bring my gun to exactly where I was looking to shoot that target.
So so let me get this straight. So you're shooting production or the stock 2, which means you get a double action first shot. And as a production shooter, you're like, I am more comfortable drawing to the mini target than I am the mini popper than I am transitioning onto it.
I knew if I like focused like a laser and I brought the gun to where I was looking, I knew it would go down, as opposed to shooting a open target and needing to move my vision, to a very small target,
Right.
transitioning. Yeah.
But that's an interesting choice. Like
Uh-huh.
most people listening to this are kind of like, yeah, damn, shooting a double action gun. I do not like drawing onto mini poppers.
Mhm. Exactly.
But you have a different skill set, so you're like, no, I'd rather draw to it than transition onto it.
Yep. Like I knew it was gonna go down. Like I'll grip the gun properly and roll through the trigger and it will go down. And then I see these 2 paper targets after these poppers. Prior training and experience, I know I'm gonna shift my weight and start to lean out shooting those targets. So I formed my plan based on my ability and knowing like my strength and weakness, knowing that maybe if I moved from the paper to the steel, there was a chance maybe that I would overswing the gun, or I'd be in a hurry, or maybe I was, for whatever reason, I found a plan that I was more comfortable with.
Well, I think the idea underlying this is that in the context of hey, there's a bunch of targets out there in front of you. You got to draw and shoot them. Like you understand that it's not really going to affect the time a whole lot with the order you do that. When that's an idea that most people haven't really accepted that.
Correct. And then I can think of a couple other stages where there's like a stack of targets and I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to go when I shoot those, I'm definitely going to lean out on those. So when I'm shooting those targets, I'm going to kind of slow down and maybe I'll keep my feet moving, or maybe I'm going to lean out. And so you look at your skills and, prior training and experience, and you pick specific details into your plan based on, your gut, your previous experiences to know where there's a chance you could fall down or where there's a chance to really excel. And you make those small little decisions based on your personal experience more than just, I saw Ben run the stage this way. He had a fast time. I'm going to run it that way.
I think this is important.
That's not a good way to go.
About.
No, it's not.
So you're not leveraging the whole stage plan on what you're good at. You're leveraging one little portion, like the very first 6 rounds on that one stage, in the order you shot on that.
Yeah.
You didn't leverage the whole plan based on what you're strong at. You leveraged that little section and then the next section and then the next section, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So everybody shot all those same targets, but you shot them in the order that was best for you.
Yes.
Right. Well, I just got a question. I mean, before we started recording on the YouTube channel about there was a shaky bridge at a match, the same match that you're talking about. So a shaky bridge where there's plates you can shoot from the shaky bridge, and then there's a port you can see through, and you can also engage most of those plates through that port without standing static. You're a touch closer, and you're not on a shaky bridge. And one guy asked, like, why are you shooting the plates from the shaky bridge? That's his question for me. And I'm thinking it's the same thing. Like, I'm leveraging my abilities. Like, if I get up, if I'm going up on the shaky bridge, I'm going to stop. It starts shooting steel. If I hit the first one, I figure I'm just going to stand there and just start banging them down. Like, because why not? The distance isn't a lot different, and it'll sit. The round count works out better for that anyway. So I didn't look at that and be like afraid of it. It's just, I feel comfortable with it, and the round count works out better. So that's what I'm going to do. Whereas a lot of people would go a different direction with that.
Yeah, and otherwise, if you shot them from the barrel and you had to shoot like 4 plates, you would have had to post up hard. You wouldn't have any emotion. Whereas then when Ben rolls to the barrel, you just kind of, you don't flow all the way through, but you didn't have to really stop hard. You just bring your gun up, plates are there, shoot it, and off you go.
Yeah.
And I would not do that plan. I absolutely would not do the plan Ben did. But
Why,
Ben knows.
Son of a bitch. Why not?
Ben knows prior training and experience. He knows he can make those shots, and he does like a self-awareness, a gut feeling, a gut check. Like, yep, this is the plan for me. I look at that, I'm like, nope, that is not going to happen for me. I'm not doing that. But you can't play follow the leader, and using your training and experience, or even maybe what target you want to end on, or maybe a lean somewhere, or it could be maybe Matt and I shoot the same arrays from the same spot, but the order I pick is just based on my ability, my preference. I know I like drawing to a tight shot. I know I don't want to draw to a tight shot. I'm worried about the double action. If I can draw to a full target, if I have the chance, I want to do that. So you need to Go ahead, sorry.
Maybe a more clear example is we had some steel that activated some moving targets
Yeah.
on stage 4, right?
Mhm.
So there was multiple orders you could do that. You could shoot the steel, like the activator, and then shoot the moving target right away, or you could shoot like the activator, another popper, and mover, or you could shoot like all the steel and all the activators in one shot in a certain order that activated the moving targets exactly right. So you didn't wait for any of them, and like they presented perfectly. It just depended on your skill. Like not everybody, like not all skill levels could have went up and did that.
Yep. And you could be successful doing that more than one way. I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think in practice, you find your pattern, your better results, and then maybe even think about why you like that way. For example, if it's a big popper at further distances, I like to draw on it rather than transition from the side to side, because the popper is long, vertically big, but narrow. So if I am transitioning left to right on it versus I draw on it, draw is basically gun moving low to high. So I have a bigger dimension on the target. Those kind of things you can think about it. And also, if you are very good at tracking the target, like swinger or shooting on the move, then you can try to use, okay, I am very good at tracking, so I'm going to shoot everything leaning out or shooting on the move. Or if you're very athletic, so you can stop instantly without body dragging around at all, then you don't have to track at all. In that case, you just rush and then plant, shoot really fast. Whereas if you can't have that muscle in your body and you cannot stop very instantly, then yeah, try to like develop tracking ability, even make your strength stronger, and then use that at matches.
All right, but there's one point I want to drive home about this, and this would be for people listening. Like all of the guys on here, we do accept that, and not even just accept intellectually, but we've trained it, we've seen it, we've observed it, we've done it. We've gone to nationals so many times and shot so many different matches with so many different people. Like when it comes down to nuance, like specific target orders, like left to right, right to left, steel first, steel last, whatever, like those sorts of things, we know that it really doesn't matter. It's going to come down to execution, right? Mm-hmm. So for shooting a drill like Accelerator, where the targets are 7, 15, 25, you can work it near to far, far to near. I can shoot a goofy order where like center target first, then the left target, then the right target. So it makes no sense for a match. But I know that my scores in training are very similar, very similar across different orders. You know what I mean? But then when I go to a match, like knowing, hey, I can do it any way I want to. Then when I go to a match, I can just be like, no, I prefer to shoot these targets, this order, for this reason, because of the context here, or whatever else I have to do on the stage. I'm very comfortable with that, and I really believe it's not going to matter that much the order. So I don't feel like I'm giving anything up. And I think so many people, when they go to a match, they're looking at the stage and they think if they're doing it differently than a guy they perceive as better than them or whatever, like they think they're giving something up. And it's really not true. It's really not. Like shooting how you're comfortable or understanding, like near to far, far to near, whatever. Like this is going to work out okay. It's going to come down to my execution. Am I shooting accurately? Am I shooting to my sight? Shooting to my ability? That's what's going to matter, especially when you go to a big match, because everybody's juiced up. Everybody wants to go fast and do well, and people are going to be fucking up left and right. And if you just want to shoot an order, you're not going to fuck up. You know what I mean?
Well said, dude. I like it.
That's
so yes. Don't, like, the call to action is don't try this in your next area or section match. Try that. If these aren't things that you're normally thinking about, that maybe think about it at your club match, think about it in training, and yeah.
All right. Thank you, Joel, so much. All right, guys. I'm not sure we have time for a question because of, well, you know what? We do, because it's perfect. It fits right in with what Joel's just talking about.
Oh, I love it. Just like it was meant to be.
Here we go. I recently trained with 2 solid shooters, GM Production and National Level Steel Challenge shooter, and we were taking turns setting up mini stages. Personally, I wanted to shoot first and analyze after. However, they preferred coming up with some theoretical par time to see how close they could get once the beeper goes off. there was this one stage where after running it once in 12 seconds, I believe I could get it under 10. They said, no way, as a limit in their mind was around 10.3 for the optimal run. After 6 or 7 tries, I was averaging 10.2 seconds with my fastest being 9.9. Clearly their limit was not right. What bothered me is that I told them they could probably do it faster, but they rather discuss it for 10 minutes why they couldn't instead of just trying. Do you think setting theoretical optimal times for mini stages are productive, or is it better to have rough estimates or even no estimates at all? Jesus. Matt, this kind of plays into what we were talking about with efficient practice, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's a huge waste of time. Unless you got like all day and like that's all you want to do. I mean, it'd still be a waste of time. You go do something else.
Well,
so it doesn't make a lot of sense to go and be like, so you're IFSICing this before you even shoot it, right? So you're like, okay, so I can get a 1-3 draw on this and a 20 split and blah, 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 right? So the theoretical time is 10.3, right?
Yeah.
Over this course of fire. And then, like, obviously, you have, like, within your ability, you can push that down, 20% less, like, faster or whatever, right?
Sure.
Like, anybody can push it, like, and hook up on it, right? But I don't think any of that matters because you need to know what your kind of, like, your first time out is, like, what the time, like, cold is on it, and then what you can kind of work it down to, right? And what you're comfortable with.
Well, that, and if this is just some scenario that's never going to be repeated, right? Like, this is where, if I was there with these guys on the day shooting with them, it would be interesting how fast we could go. I mean, how fast everybody can push it and all that stuff, but it's not really actionable, right? It's not, what am I going to do with that information? Like, probably nothing. But it might be interesting.
Actually shoot it, and that would be more interesting.
Well, I would not be standing there for 10 minutes. We talked about this before. I would be like, if that conversation goes on too long, I'm just gonna like walk over to another bay and start doing stuff because I just lose interest really fast. Like, oh fuck, this is not why I'm here. It's hot out and I want to go shoot.
Yeah, I think there's two situations where the information's interesting. So building a database of small little times, going like, hey, if I draw to this target at this distance, going to take that. I mean, that can be handy. That could help you maybe make decisions in a match. Or more valuable for me is just comparing times to somebody else. So if I'm standing next to any one of these 3 dudes and I do a drill and then Matt does a drill, I'm like, Matt, what was your time? I'm like, oh, okay. And that kind of gives me like, hey, Matt's pretty good. Well, Matt's really good. And then if I compare my time to Matt, hey, I'm pretty close or maybe I'm way off. That could give me an indication of I'm definitely falling down on this type of target transition or, your first shot or reload or whatever it is. But I wouldn't stand around all day just discussing it. I would just use it as a benchmark. Like, hey, I'm pretty close to Ben. Oh, Ben's blowing me out of the water on this skill. That's good to know. Maybe I'll work on that in training.
Yeah, on the noisy part?
Yeah, on the noisy part.
Is that where I get you?
It is sometimes.
Or is it the running around and that stuff? It's hard to say.
It is.
Yeah. I like what Joe said. I think sometimes time can be your goal, or sometimes time can be just information where you are at. I think having a goal time for one specific skill, I think it's very important to develop your skill. So like draw time, 1 second, stuff like that. But having a stage as a goal time even before you shoot, like Ben said, just trying to achieve that one specific goal over there, which you will not repeat at matches.
Well, I mean, yeah, the only thing I'll say is it's nice. It's value added. It's not very useful all the time. So don't like for probably 95% of the listeners, this is not something you need to try to develop right now, but it is interesting to be able to have a predictive ability to predict what your time will be on a scenario before you shoot it. Mm-hmm. Like that's nice to help you gauge what the hit factor will be and make little minutia decisions like how you want to go at it with moving targets or how you like what aiming scheme you pick on particular targets, things like that. That's a value add. That's nice. I think it's nice to be able to predict my times or whatever on a scenario, but that doesn't mean that I want to pick a theoretical maximum best time that I could shoot because I think that's a limitation you're putting on yourself, really. And that's been my experience too. And back in the day when I started shooting, what a guy can do or where the limits were is vastly different than now. But that's just perception. That's just people's perception has changed of what's good and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Well, guys, I think we'll leave it there. Another Bang Up podcast.
I think it was actually.
That was all right. Yeah. So listeners, if you have a question you'd like the answer to, go to bensirger.com, send me your questions, and we'll talk about them. And I guess peace out the rest of you guys, huh?
Bye.